Welcome back, friends. We have already started with chapter number 1, reproduction in organism. We have discussed reproduction, lifespan, asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction, and we have also listed the basic events in sexual reproduction in higher organisms. The basic events of sexual reproduction are pre-fertilization, second, fertilization, third, post-fertilization. Pre-fertilization includes two types of the events: gametogenesis and second one is gamete transfer. Post-fertilization includes two events. First is called as zygote formation and second one is embryogenesis. We have already listed the pre-fertilization, fertilization and post-fertilization in the previous session, and we have already started with pre-fertilization. In pre-fertilization we have finished with gametogenesis, means a process of formation of a gamete. This process is called as gametogenesis. We have finished. Here the male and female gametes are going to be produced. Today we have to learn the two processes. First is gamete transfer. It is a part of pre-fertilization, and the second one is pre-fertilization. So today in this session we will finish these two, gamete transfer and the fertilization. Okay, so let's start the gamete transfer process. Pre-fertilization, and in pre-fertilization the second event is gamete transfer. You know the sexual reproduction. In a sexual reproduction the ultimate event is fusion of male and female gamete. This is the ultimate event. But to fuse together the male and female gamete has to brought together. Okay, suppose this is a male gamete and this is a female gamete. Male gamete is produced by the male and the female gametes are produced by the female. These are the two different sexes. Okay, so the male gamete which is present in the male has to be brought in the contact with the female gamete. Okay, and for that it needs a transfer, and this process is called as gamete transfer process. Okay, so now you know that there are two types of a gamete, male gamete and the female gamete. In most of the animals and other living organisms, the male gamete is motile, whereas the female gamete is stationary. Okay, male gamete is motile and the female gamete is stationary. Okay, but there is an exception, that is in case of algae, fungi. This both gamete, male and the female gametes, they are motile. Both one, male and female. This is an exception. Otherwise, in most of the cases, the male is motile, female is stationary. But in case of algae and fungi, the male and female gamete both are motile. This is an exception. Okay. Now let's start with an example. How the male gamete and the female gamete, they are going to be fused together, or they are going to be transferred. Okay, usually you know that male gamete is going to be transferred. So let's start how it is going to be transferred. See, this is a male gamete. It is motile in nature. It has to be transferred to a female gamete. Okay, already you know this, but to transfer it, some organism requires a certain kind of a medium. Like for an example, water is acting as a medium. Water is acting as a medium. It is acting as a carrier which leads to a transport of a male gamete and it is transported to a female gamete. This is what going to happen. Okay, so here the water is acting as a medium for the transport of male gamete to a female gamete. In which cases it is going to be happen? This is going to be happen with the case of algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. So see, in these three examples, algae, bryophytes and the pteridophytes, male gamete is transferred to a female gamete with the help of a water. Water is acting as a medium for transfer of this gamete. Okay, clear? Now take another example. Take an example of a plant. Specifically a higher plant. Okay, or the flower bearing plant in which the flower is a sexual organ. See, I am drawing a flower. This is a bisexual flower. Why we are calling it as a bisexual flower? Because it possesses both male sexual organ stamen and the female sexual organ carpel or pistil. Both are present in the same flower. Clear? So here the male gametes are present in the stamen. In the stamen, this part is called as an anther. Anther possesses the pollen grain, and pollen grain contains a male gametes. Their male gametes is transferred to a pistil or a carpel very easily because within the same flower there is a presence of both pollen grain as well as an ovule, or you can say a male gamete and the female gamete. So it is easy to transfer. Okay, in case of a bisexual flower. But suppose take an example of unisexual flower. Like this is the unisexual flower. In this, it is a male flower because it possesses only stamen. Male flower. And the second one is a female flower. Because it is a carpel or pistil. See, there are two possibilities. Depends on the type of a plant. The plant may be monoecious or the plant may be dioecious. If it is a monoecious plant, in the monoecious plant is a plant in which male flower and the female flower is present in the same plant. This is called as a monoecious. And what is a dioecious plant? As we have learned in the previous session, the male flower and the female flower, they are present on two different plants. This is called as a dioecious. But in both cases, monoecious and dioecious plant, there should be a development of certain mechanism to transfer a pollen grain from this anther to a stigma. So that means here there is for a transfer there is a development of a special mechanism, and that mechanism is known as pollination. Through a pollination, a pollen grain is transferred from anther to a stigma of another flower, and various agents will help in this gamete transfer like wind, water, birds, insects. They will help in the transfer. So in a plant, the transfer of gamete occurs in a different way. If it is a bisexual flower, that means the stamens and pistil are present in the same flower. It is easy to transfer a pollen grain. But if it is a unisexual flower, male and female flower are different, then in monoecious and dioecious, both variety of plant, a need to develop a special mechanism to transfer a gamete, and this is known as, or this mechanism is called as pollination. There are certain agents which helps in the transfer of gamete like water, air, wind or insect, animals, they help in the transfer of it. So that is the gamete transfer in case of a flowering plants. Similarly, there should also be a development of a mechanism for gamete transfer in animals, particularly in dioecious animal. Like for an example, human being. Okay, so what happens in this case? there should be a development of a special mechanism or a sexual mechanism that leads to a transfer of male gamete to a female gamete. Okay, so this is all about a gamete transfer process. Gamete transfer process is an essential process because here the gamete transfers, and if the gamete transfer takes place, then and then only the fusion will take place. If gamete transfer does not take place, there is no possibility of a fusion of male gamete, because for the fusion of male gamete, the fusion of gametes, the male and female gamete has to be brought together, and the gamete transfer will facilitate, or they will carry out a process to bring out the male and female gamete together. So this is a process called as gamete transfer. Clear? So pre-fertilization includes two processes: gametogenesis and gamete transfer. Gametogenesis means a process of formation of gametes, male and female gamete. Once the gametes are formed, the male gamete has to be transferred to a female gamete. That is achieved by this process, what we call as gamete transfer. That's all about the pre-fertilization. Now the main events of sexual reproduction start. The main events of sexual reproduction is fertilization. Okay, so what is a fertilization? Fertilization, that means fusion of male and female gamete. What is a fertilization? Fertilization means fusion of male and female gamete. This is called as a fertilization. Fertilization can also be called as syngamy. What's another name of fertilization? Syngamy. So we are using these two terms, fertilization and syngamy, interchangeably, or you can say that they are the similar terms. Okay. So what is a fertilization? Fusion of male and female gametes, and this is the main vital event in a sexual reproduction. It is the critical event in a sexual reproduction. Okay, but we have some exceptional animals in which there is no fertilization takes place. I will list out, okay, where the development of offspring occurs without fertilization. Remember a word, without fertilization. So the examples of animal: rotifers, honeybee, some lizard, and the bird like turkey. In these cases, the development of offspring occurs without fertilization. That means the offspring is produced by the development of a female gamete. By the development of a female gamete only. There is no fusion of male and female gamete. These are the exceptional. And such kind of development is called as parthenogenesis. This is very important. Clear? So what is a parthenogenesis? If development of a offspring occurs without fertilization, such type of an event is called as a parthenogenesis, and this is exceptional. Okay, and in which cases it is reported? It is reported in rotifers, honeybee, lizard, and the bird like turkey, where only female gamete develops to form a zygote. Okay. Okay. Now you know that here there is a fertilization of male and female gamete. So suppose assume that this is a male gamete and this is a female gamete. Both fused, and there is a development of a zygote, and you know that zygote is 2n because the male gamete is haploid, female gamete is haploid, both fuse together and they form a zygote. This is by a process called as fertilization. There is a development of a zygote, or you can also call it as syngamy. Clear? Okay. But now what happens? To brought together this male and female together, you already know that there should be a process called as gamete transfer. A gamete transfer should occur. But suppose assume that this is a male flower present on XYZ plant, and this is a female flower. Present on the another plant. Pollen grain will transfer from this stamen to a carpel or from anther to a stigma. Certain agents will help, but there is no guarantee that it will fall on it. Or in certain other cases like the algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes, it needs a medium. Water is acting as a medium for transport of male gamete to a female gamete in case of algae, bryophytes and the pteridophytes. But there is no guarantee with the help of this medium they will reach to a specific plant only. It may happen that it will reach to some other plants. So there are very high chances that there is a loss of male gametes, and to compensate this loss, the high number of male gametes are produced. Remember, the male gametes are produced in very high number because during the transfer there is very high chances that many of the pollen grains or many of the male gametes might going to be a lost, okay, or cannot able to reach to a destination, means cannot able to reach to a female gamete. So to compensate this loss, many male gametes are going to be produced. That you have to remember in case of gamete transfer. Okay. Now our question is, we are looking about the fertilization. Now our question is that where this fertilization process occurs, where occurs? Fertilization. I hope all of you know, students, what is fertilization? A fusion of male and female gamete. Where this process occurs. Based on that, the fertilization can be of two types. First is called as external fertilization, and second one is called as internal fertilization. What is an external fertilization? In external fertilization, the fertilization occurs outside the body, and in internal fertilization, the fertilization occurs inside the body of organism. Clear? So if fertilization occurs, means fusion of male and female gamete occurs outside the body of organism, then this type of fertilization is called external fertilization. And if the fusion of male and female gamete occurs inside the body of living organism, such type of a fusion or the fertilization is called as internal fertilization. Let's start with external fertilization. This external fertilization is more common in case of aquatic organisms, like for an example, fishes, algae, or you can say amphibians, those who are living in both land and water. In such kind of a cases, the external fertilization takes place. These all are the aquatic organism, fishes. So what happens? Here the male releases the male gamete in a water, at the same time the female gamete releases the female gamete in the water. So there should be a great synchrony between the release of gametes in the water, because the time at which the male gamete releases, at the same time the female gamete should releases, that increases the chances of fusion between these two gametes, male and female gamete. If the releases at the different time, the chances of meeting or fusion gets decreases. So in external fertilization, where the fusion occurs outside of a body, there is a great synchrony between the two different sexes, male and the female sexes. Okay, because the gamete should releases at the same time, then the chances of fusion is very high. So external fertilization occurs in which type of animal? Aquatic animal. Okay, like for example, algae, fishes and the amphibians. Okay, but the disadvantage of external fertilization is such that here the fusion occurs outside a body, means the zygote is formed outside a body, and so that's why this zygote is most vulnerable to predators. The enemy of that organism might going to eat it. So there is a less chances of survival in external fertilization. Another type of fertilization is internal fertilization. Here the fertilization occurs inside a body. Clear? Means a fusion of male and female gamete that occurs inside a body. And so that's why here there is a development or need of a mechanism that leads to a transfer of male gamete into a body of a female gamete. Okay? In that cases, remember, there is a need to develop a mechanism that leads to a transfer of male gamete to a female gamete, because now here the female gamete is present in the body of a female. Barabar, and the fusion occurs inside a body. Okay, so there is a need to development of a internal fertilization. In internal fertilization, fusion occurs inside a body, so that's why there is a more chances of protection. There is a less chances of its attack by predators. So this is about internal fertilization. Like internal fertilization occurs in the case of human being, or internal fertilization it occurs in the case of flowering plants, etc. Okay, so that's all about fertilization. Okay, so today what we have learned? We have learned two processes. One is a gamete transfer and the second one is fertilization. Gamete transfer is needed because if the transfer does not occur, there is no chances of fusion of gametes. Okay, the transfer of gamete occur by the different ways. It may occur by water in case of an algae or bryophytes and the pteridophytes. Usually who will transfer? Male gamete will transfer because the male gamete is motile, but there is an exception. In case of algae and fungi, both gametes are motile in nature. Okay. Next one is here. In case of a bisexual plant, or bisexual flower, there is easy to transfer gametes. But in case of monoecious and dioecious, there is a need to develop a special mechanism, what we call as pollination, to transfer the gametes. Okay. When there is a transfer of a gamete, there is a high chances many gametes are lost, and to compensate this loss, many male gametes are produced and relatively very few female gametes are going to be produced, like one or two. Okay. Next is fertilization, means a fusion of male and female gamete, what we also call it as syngamy. There is few exceptions where the fusion does not occur and direct development of offspring occurs, like rotifers, lizard, honeybee and bird like turkey, where from development occurs direct from a female gametes. Okay, and this type of development is called as parthenogenesis. Depends on where the fertilization takes place. There are two types of fertilization, external and internal. In external fertilization, the fertilization occurs outside the body, like in case of aquatic organisms, fishes, amphibians, algae. And in internal fertilization, fertilization occurs inside the body. Okay, like for an example, plants, flowering plants, or animals, or human being, etc. In external fertilization, the zygote which is formed, it is more vulnerable to predators, whereas the internal fertilization, it is protected. So that's all about it. In the next session, we will learn post-fertilization. Until then, stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you for watching.